think of the world's greatest sports rivalries. A few probably pop into your head. But there's one that just feels bigger. A match that literally stops the world for 90 minutes. I'm talking, of course, about El Clásico. Real Madrid versus FC Barcelona. It is so much more than a game. It's a clash of cultures, of politics, of identities, all forged in a really intense history. But, and you might find this surprising, it wasn't always this way. There was no rivalry until that game. Just let that sink in. Those are the words of Fernando Arguilla, who was Barcelona's reserve goalkeeper way back in 1943. It points to one single explosive moment that changed a football match into something else. And don't worry, we are absolutely going to get to what that game was. But first, let's just get a sense of the massive scale of this rivalry today. Over 190. That's how many countries broadcast El Clásico live. I mean, think about that. From a cafe in Madrid to a sports bar in Mumbai, the entire world tunes in. It's a global phenomenon. So how on earth did a regional Spanish match manage to capture the entire planet's imagination? Well, to understand that, we've got to go right back to the beginning. All right, so our first stop is what I'm calling the political pitch. This is where we're going to dig into how this rivalry got so tangled up with regional identity, with politics, and really with the very soul of Spain itself. You know, in the early days, it was all surprisingly normal. They first played each other in 1902, and for the next 3 decades, they played, they won, they lost. I mean, sure, it was competitive. They needed 4 matches to settle a tie in 1916, but it was just football. And then the Spanish Civil War happened, and everything stopped. When the game came back, the country and this fixture had been changed forever. So, this is it, June 13th, 1943. This is the game Fernando Arguilla was talking about. It was the second leg of the Copa del Generalissimo semifinal. Now, Barcelona was heading into this match in Madrid with a pretty comfortable 3-0 lead from the first game. They should have been feeling confident, but what they walked into, well, it wasn't a football match. It was an ambush. Just listen to what Barcelona player Francisco Calvet said about that day. Stones were apparently thrown at their team bus. Inside the stadium, the atmosphere was just pure venom and intimidation. The crowd was screaming insults, throwing whatever they could get their hands on. Calvet was convinced, he said, it was all set up. The players were genuinely scared for their lives. The game itself, it was the last thing on their minds. And this was the final score. Real Madrid 11, Barcelona 1. A result so shocking, so controversial, that it's barely even acknowledged in Real Madrid's own history books. But for Barcelona, this wasn't just a loss. This became a scar. This was the moment the rivalry stopped being about sports and became a symbol of Catalan pride against the centralist government in Madrid. The battle lines had been officially drawn. Okay, so if the 1943 match lit the fuse, the transfer of Alfredo Di Stefano was the full-on explosion. Get this, both clubs were convinced they had signed the Argentinian superstar. See, Barcelona made a deal with his original club, River Plate, but Real Madrid made a deal with the club he was currently playing for, Millonarios. It was a mess, so the Spanish authorities stepped in and came up with this truly bizarre solution. He would play alternate seasons for each team. Barcelona's board felt the pressure, they backed out, and they sold their share. Di Stefano went to Madrid and only led them to 5 straight European Cups, completely changing the balance of power forever. So that brings us to the next stage, the superstar era. This is when El Clásico went global. It became a blockbuster movie defined not just by the old politics, but by massive superstar players, eye-watering transfer fees, and yeah, some moments of pure, shocking betrayal. And nothing, absolutely nothing, symbolizes this era better than Luis Figo. He was Barcelona's captain, he was their hero. But in 2000, a guy running for president of Real Madrid, Florentino Perez, made a secret deal with him. The deal was, if Perez wins the election, Figo signs for Madrid. Well, Perez won. He paid the world record fee, and Figo crossed the Great Divide. He became the first Galactico, and to Barca fans, he became the ultimate traitor. His first game back at the Camp Nou is still one of the most hostile, intense atmospheres in sports history. And then came the duel that basically defined a whole generation of football. For 9 solid seasons, El Clásico was Lionel Messi versus Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, 2 of the greatest players to ever touch a ball at the absolute peak of their powers, leading the 2 biggest clubs in the world. The numbers are just wild. Messi is the all-time top scorer with 26 goals in these matches. Ronaldo is right there with 18. Every single game was a battle for who was the best, both for them and for their clubs. So, after more than a century of conflict, goals, betrayals, and everything else, this is what it boils down to. Across over 260 official games, the margin is razor thin. A single win is all that separates these two giants. It is just the most perfectly balanced, intensely competitive rivalry you will find anywhere in football. Which, of course, raises the big question, where does it all go from here? And that brings us right up to today, to the next chapter. Messi is gone, Ronaldo is gone, a whole new generation is taking the field, and you can feel the rivalry starting to evolve all over again. I mean, you really have to wonder, right? After these absolute titans, Di Stefano, Figo, Messi, Ronaldo, have defined this game for decades, who's next? Who could possibly step up and carry the incredible weight of El Clásico into the future? Well, it seems we have our answer. After what felt like the longest transfer saga in history, it finally happened. Kylian Mbappé, the player everyone sees as the heir apparent to the title of world's best, joined Real Madrid. His arrival kicks off a new Galactico era, and like it or not, immediately shoves him right into the heart of this historic conflict. And of course, he wasted absolutely no time making his mark. In his very first league Clásico, October 26, 2025, it took him all of 21 minutes to find the back of the net. Real Madrid went on to win that game 2-1. And just like that, a new hero, or, a new villain, depending on which side you're on, was forged in the fire of El Clásico, totally ready to write his own chapter in this never-ending story. So it started as a simple cup match in 1902. It became a political flashpoint, then a global battle of superstars, and now, something new. This rivalry just keeps reinventing itself. Generations change, the icons move on, but when you look at all this history and you feel the passion that still surrounds this game, you have to ask yourself, will the fire at the very heart of El Clásico ever truly fade? I wouldn't bet on it.